Hello there and welcome back to another edition of the Hot Lap Classic Remastered. This time we're taking a look at the 1997 Nissan Pulsar Serie VZR, also known as the much less interesting Nissan Almera if you're in Europe. I have to admit, I have a little bit of a soft spot for these. They weren't necessarily great, but I love the idea of, in Japan at least, and I think we actually did get them over here as the GTI, I believe. You take a Nissan Almera, which is a very sort of dreary pensioner's car, and then give it a ridiculous Honda-esque engine. I think this thing revved to like 8,000 RPM, and it's just incredible. In this game as well, it comes in this fantastic dark cranberry colour. For me, this is, I think, one of the best car colours in the game, just the metallic. It looks phenomenal, really. I'm interested to see how this one gets along. It's sort of, like I say, it is a little bit Civic-esque. Similar sort of power to those, similar sort of power that we get out of some of the European hatchbacks as well, so we'll see how it gets along. Front engine, front wheel drive, 251 horsepower, 1,030 kilos, pretty standard hatchback statistics, really. Maybe a little bit lower on power than some of the cars that we have, but nevertheless, here we are. Anyways, it is going to get 6 laps of the Motorsports Land track in order to set the best time it possibly can. Our current leader is the Ford GT90, a 28.180, the Pulsar / Almera. It's very strange calling this a Pulsar. Unlikely to beat that. Yeah, I'm so used to like the 91 version of this car, the Sunny technically. I am very much used to calling that a Pulsar because it just sounds weird calling it a Sunny. But this, yeah, no, it's an Almera to me. But still, I quite like this. It revs insanely high. Unfortunately, revving insanely high on a course like this isn't necessarily the best thing. We've seen that with a couple of the sort of more normal Hondas, and I think some more naturally aspirated Japanese cars, you know, they, like I say, they rev to insane levels, but unfortunately the actual overall performance of them isn't anything to write home about, and I fear this car may be somewhat similar. 32.551 on its first flying run is not the best. Admittedly, this first corner was not taken the best, but you'd want this to be sort of 31.5 at the absolute minimum, but we'll see. That's Peugeot 306 territory. The 306 had more power than this, but also was much worse to drive than this is, so hopefully we can get it a little bit further up the old leaderboard than what we are at the moment. 32 dead. Okay. That would be an interesting time to tick on the leaderboard, but again, I want a little bit more out of the Pulsar. The good news is, should this not go brilliantly, as it seems not to be at the moment, there is the VZR N1, which is, I guess, like the Peugeot 306 Rally, but a Nissan Pulsar, if you will. I don't know how. Okay, so that first gear lasts until 70 kilometers an hour. I think the gear ratios in this are hurting it a little bit, because it's not, like, I'm not really getting out of second gear in it, and for something this high revving, that's sort of what you want to be doing. You want to be always in that power band, and this just does not let me be in the power band. Yeah. It's a shame, actually. It really is a shame, that, because this is probably going to be one of the slowest front-wheel drive hatchbacks we have go round, by the looks of it. But it's just not. The gearing on this is terrible, and it's not all that quick, I'll be honest. Even though it's 250 horsepower, you know, we get 250 horsepower out of the Mazda Demio, and this is not as quick as that. I'm trying to use that first gear, but it's just not working out for this car. Yeah, it's a big shame, but it's the gearbox on this that's really letting it down. I thought this would be like short shift. It's not an automatic or anything. It's just not. It's not geared properly, unfortunately, and that's incredibly disappointing for the poor Almera. It does have to be said. We haven't got a lot down that side of the leaderboard. I'm surprised, although it is slightly quicker than something which I guess is comparable, which we'll speak about in a second, but yeah, it looks fantastic, but just not, and that lap was the quickest. Maybe it could go quicker. I think if you had a different gearbox in this, you could cut at least half a second off its time, but as it stands, it's just not geared right for this course, unfortunately. So, well, we've seen this before with cars like the Toyota Altetza, BMW 740i, stuff like that, where they're just not quite as well set up for this course as maybe you'd want them to be. But either way, a 32 dead will put this into 99th place. Now, interestingly, if you look at what it's around, it's not too bad. You know, it's only slightly off of a naturally aspirated Honda Integra. It's slightly quicker than the CRX Pro 2. The closest rival, obviously, here is the Mitsubishi Mirage, which is sort of a similar level of meh to drive. So, if you look in that aspect, it hasn't done too bad. But then when you remember the Mazda Demio is over a second quicker than this, it's just not it, is it? Really? So, a bit of a shame for the Pulsar / Almera, but I guess it was a dreary car, non-tuned, as we've found out. Even when it's tuned, it's not the most exciting, but at least it comes in a fantastic colour. Anyways, that's it for this episode. Thank you all very much for watching, and join me next time when I'll be driving something completely different. Until then, farewell.